Howdy, I'm Pete Coors. I'm on the board of the Western Stock Show Association and chairman of the Building Our Legacy campaign. I'm joined today, it was a pretty exciting day, thanks for joining us, but I'm joined today with a little panel to talk about the Legacy Building. Doug Jones is the chairman of the board of the Western Stock Show Association. David Tryba, who's the Tryba architects who've done the design work we're going to talk about, and Paul Andrews, who's the president and CEO of the National Western. So thought we'd just start off by talking a little bit about how we got started on this new world headquarters for the National Western. 2016, when I began to take over the capital campaign, our campaign was at $50 million. And that was our obligation to the city of Denver, as our contribution, National Western's contribution to the overall National Western Center project. And I asked Paul and others, I said, well, so where's our headquarters? Where we're gonna be? Where's the National Western gonna be? And they said, well, it's not really in the first couple of phases, and it'll be down the road. I thought, no, this is the whole reason we're doing this project is because of the stock show, really. This would be a year-round facility, but it wouldn't be here without the stock show. So Doug and I got together and put our head, we started looking at some of the options that might be available. And the bottom line is we said, well, we really have to have our own building. That added $50 million to the capital campaign. So instead of a $50 million campaign, I took on a $100 million campaign.
Nobody better to do it.
And we thought that this would be a great way to activate prospective donors and the community to know that what they would be contributing to would be this fantastic building, which we've now designed and continue to work on. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Doug to talk a little bit about the Legacy Building and bring us up to speed.
Sure. Thanks, Pete. Well, we think the Legacy Building will be better than a construction trailer. It was kind of where we were at the early stages, but this is going to be spectacular. We went through a process, we went through an interviewing process, talking to several firms, and ended up selecting David and Tryba Architects to do this work. And some of the things we wanted something that would kind of represent the West, and by golly, I think they've done it. We're excited about this. It's going to be a spectacular home and facility for our art, for our National Western Club, for the offices, for the staff. It's going to be a celebration place. It's going to be a gathering place. So pretty excited, to say the least, in just the drawings, and we haven't even gotten to the nitty-gritty yet, but we are getting there quickly. So David and I have known each other for a number of years, and I knew of David's architectural abilities, his enthusiasm, his passion, and most importantly, connecting his history, the past, Denver and Colorado's past, with what we are all about. And we're 115 years, and we wanted to make sure that was represented and portrayed in this building. And I really believe that we've hit the nail on the head. Super.
So I guess we're going to go to David next to tell us a little bit about the building and the concept that you and your architects have put forth to provide a building that is going to be an exciting meeting place for this whole community.
Well, it is. And thank you, Doug, for the introduction. And Pete, you know, one of the things that I think in reflection about where we've ended up with the location of this building, it's absolutely at the epicenter of the entire complex. And we're very fortunate to have this site that's surrounded by the new buildings at CSU, the Animal Health Building, the new water building, and this research building. And so all these activities will be happening 365 days a year, and we'll be right in the center of it. We've got the best site because we're facing south. We're on the north side of Betty Cram Drive, and we're one block from the South Platte River. And so we've got a great expansive view to the south, to the city, and over to the west, to the mountains. And we've got beautiful, warm daylight all day long. And at nighttime, will be the big central lantern for the entire National Western. You'll be able to see us from I-25, and this will really be the gemstone of the entire complex. There's a nice thing about it, Doug, you mentioned all the interior programming for the National Western, but this is really going to be a new addition to one of the key civic buildings in Denver.
Right.
Yeah, David, I think one of the exciting things about our location is that when we finally started finalizing our ideas about it, we decided, why don't we put it up next to the Livestock Center? So one of the things we're going to, maybe you'll talk about, is at the club, which is on the top floor, we'll have an area which will have windows that will actually look into the Livestock Center arena. So club members, and when we have various events there during the year, our guests, our visitors, our members will have an opportunity to not only enjoy the club facilities, but be able to see what's going on.
Well, we're going to be married to the Livestock Center from the ground floor on the main concourse, and Pete, as you suggested, maybe most importantly at the top of the building, at the very pinnacle of the building, at the National Western Club. And so our entries are coordinated together, so there'll be a lot of activity in and out of that Livestock Center. And as people work their way around the arena, it connects directly to our 10,000 square foot exhibition hall. So that'll be a tremendous new advantage that we don't have in terms of connecting people with the National Western Center. And then perhaps the most exciting part is at the top of the building, which will be quite different than the National Western Club now, in the fact that it's dark and it's small. I mean, I think we can jam in about 250 to 280 people for lunch or dinner, but now we'll be comfortably able to seat 700 people for dinner in a glorious 2.5-story space that's really reminiscent of the great lodges at Yellowstone, or the national park kind of feel, where we're really connected with the materiality of the building and to the west and to nature.
Is there anything like it that you can relate it to? Or, I mean, this is going to be one of a kind, isn't it?
Well, Doug, it's really, I think it's a vision of the future where we're taking all of our heritage from the past and then opening it up to the community in a way that is going to be just earth-shattering. Having this 4-story building that's open to the south, all this glass, all the circulation, all the public spaces are to the south. So if there's one person in the building, they're going to be very visible, moving back and forth through the building, and then all of the great internal rooms, the exhibition hall and the club on the inside. But I can't think of anything, because this fusion of all of what we've accomplished in a Western society manifest into the future for another 100 years.
It truly will be a celebration of the West and the values that go with the West.
Well, it is. We're using a lot of reclaimed materials from the stockyards, a lot of the gates and the pens throughout the building. We're reclaiming all of that rusted steel, and it's going to be a highlight all the way through the building. And we're using, the primary material is the Colorado Loveland Buff Sandstone, which is I've got a beautiful oxidation, sandy, warm color, and I brought a sample right here that just shows the rusted steel and that wonderful Colorado stone that's just a few miles away from the center. And so
big timbers inside.
Huge timbers, and when you look up all the ceilings, you'll have a lot of wood, and so it's just going to be, the way it's going to be lit, it'll always be warm, and you'll want to come on inside. And there's everything about the building will say, come on in.
You won't want to go home.
Well, that's okay too, I guess. So, Paul, maybe we could just take it a floor at a time. And will you talk about what each floor will be, and maybe David can chime in with how we've done it architecturally.
You bet. And before I do that, I tell you, just listening to you three talk about it just gets me so excited. I want to jump out of my seat. And I can tell you right now, folks, had it not been for the leadership of Pete Coors and Doug Jones, this building never happens, because I'm the dummy that said, we'll fit the offices in the, livestock center basement or whatever. So really, history should show that Pete Coors, Doug Jones, and then listen, the building architect here, we're going to all celebrate this for the next 100 years, because Tryba is as good as anybody in the world. So this building is really the home of the members. It won't have a name on it because the members truly own this building, and the pride that the members have in this building will be shown throughout the building. Start with the lower level, the Coors Western Art exhibit and sale that occurs here every year. Obviously, there's a familiar name to my right that's on that one. And the Coors Company has supported Stock Show for decades and decades, maybe all 100 years, dating way back to our start. So we couldn't be more thankful for their partnership. But that art has never been on display in any of our offices over time. Even today, you can't go see the Coors Western Art exhibit, pieces from the past, unless you have a special key to get in a special room. So we're eliminating that. We're going to have the Robert and Catherine Wilson National Western Art Gallery on that first floor, and that is going to be a celebrated asset. We'll also have our historical artifacts. So we have been collecting since 1906 badges, publications from stock shows of the past that we've never been able to put out on display. So in this lower level, we'll also have the Wold Heritage Center, and we'll be able to share our videos, we'll be able to share our artifacts, and the videos will be in the new Volbrock Theater. So you'll be able to walk in that and punch up a video on the history of the National Western Stock Show. You'll punch up this interview and get to hear from the four of us as we talk about what this building will be. And I tell you, we couldn't be more pleased with the Wold Heritage Center because now we can have a place that the people that email me weekly that say, how can I just get an experience with the National Western, the past? How do I learn about that? Today I have no options for them. So we'll have great options for them in the Wold Heritage Center. The boardroom, I mean, listen guys, we've been sitting in a pretty, not horrible boardroom, but not really a boardroom for the last, 50, 60 years. But this boardroom will be second to none. Nick Petrie's name will be on it, the Nick Petrie boardroom. Obviously, the iconic Nick Petrie in History of Stock Show. We'll have the gallery where past Citizen of the West recipients will rotate through in that building. And on the second floor, we'll have the Mayor Conference Suite and a 10,000 square foot conference space that I know we're talking about being really the fabric of America in there, Doug. And I know that's an idea you may want to expand on just for a minute about how that conference suite will really make you feel the love of America and the people that have fought to keep this country free.
Well, the conference center, which we are planning, will connect then also to the Armed Forces Memorial in front of the building. Don't want to forget that because that's an important piece of our capital campaign to raise money for that, and think the two will be linked together with children because buses that come in here, thousands of young people, school-age children come to our stock show every year, and throughout the year they'll be dropped off at the Armed Forces Memorial right there in front of the building, the corner of Main and Main, represent the 6 branches of the Armed Forces. There'll be an American flag that will be bigger than life. You'll be able to see it from downtown and everywhere, points in between. That's going to be a great way to recognize the values of the Western spirit and those who died to bring those freedoms to us in Colorado and the West.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the National Western Stock Show, rodeo, horse show, livestock show, we have been part of supporting the military since the beginning of time.
Absolutely.
We are banded together forever, and we're going to celebrate that at the new Legacy building.
So, David, this is a model that your team put together about almost 3 years ago now, or 3 years.
Yep.
And it's modified a little bit, but this will give a basic sense of what this building looks like.
It does indeed, and you see that there's a park out in front. And Doug, as you drive down Betty Cram Drive, right at the front entrance over here.
Yeah, the Armed Forces Memorial will be right in this area with, even though you see the flag here, the flag will be here and it'll be a big flag.
That'll be great.
Car dealers kind of flag.
That'll balance the whole horizontality of the building with the flag at
Yes.
the entrance. We have an entrance off of Betty Cram Drive here, and then another entrance under a grand porch, which I think is going to be another thing we didn't talk about, but I think it's going to be exciting to be able to come in again in a blizzard underneath this amazing porch and undercover, and also be able to go into the livestock arena, which will be right behind this building. So you see the first floor and the grand stairway that comes up, and And Paul was talking about the balcony on next to the boardrooms and the exhibition hall, and then we have a balcony up at the top floor, 5,000 square foot balcony looking out towards the west, outdoor fire pits, outdoor bar. So even in the middle of January, it'll be the place to go.
It'll be covered but not enclosed.
Not enclosed, but covered.
And fire pits.
And fire pits.
Yeah, and as we all know, stock show weather is a big myth. It's about 40, 50 degrees all of January around. It's perfect.
But we were careful to make sure we all had mountain views.
That's right.
So we had great
That's
distance
right.
from up there.
And then the key thing, Pete, that you talked about, the pinnacle of the entire complex inside is the club room here. And I think I'll just turn the model around a little bit, and you can see how the club room up at the top of the building opens up into the livestock arena, and it becomes one with the livestock arena. And so you get the views to the mountains and the city, and then you get the arena on the inside. Then you can see the grand concourse, how it comes around and how that opens up right into the Legacy building with that 10,000 square foot exhibition hall right off of that concourse. So we can really have some special events in there, both on the floor and up at the exhibition hall.
You'll be able to watch the grand champion steer get crowned right here from the Legacy building and from the club right up there. That'll be amazing.
It will be.
Well, if this doesn't get people excited about the future of the National Western, I don't know what will. This is a beautiful building. It's going to be a treasure, not only to the National Western, but for the city of Denver and for the region.
I'll tell you what about the offices, folks. This will be unbelievable that I can actually have an entire floor where all of us are on the same floor. Right now, I got 4 different floors at this building, and we're all scattered throughout. So just having all our offices together will be just
You get your
amazing.
steps in.
Yeah, and it will just be so much better for collaborative thought. When you
Now
can
we're
have
talking third floor, right?
Yeah, right. We just moved
But
up
it's
to the
going to be
third floor,
open
yeah.
and flexible so that it'll accommodate for the next 100 years, the ability to kind of move things around and have all that availability and natural light all the way around and the connection to the rest of the center.
Right, yeah, and we'll be able to, some of our biggest sponsors will be able to come up there and celebrate out on the balcony and share together our passion for Western traditions and what the National Western stands for. And I mean, I think just having the staff on one level is going to be an experience we've never had here before. So,
Well, Paul, you mentioned people gather in front of the offices, but on each floor, from the ground floor all the way up to the 4th floor, there's a wonderful Western reception space that to get off the elevators on each floor that could have special events. They're name spaces, and they look straight out both to the downtown and to the mountains, and it's a place to gather. And so we've got that planned as part of the central core with the Grant family stair. Right. The monumental stair that takes you all the way up from the ground floor all the way up to the top 4th floor.
right, and so we're about to get right to that top floor. Pete alluded to it earlier. So the top floor of this building is the National Western Club, probably the centerpiece of the building. I'm getting calls today. We're in 2020. I'm getting calls today for people to rent that space now. They want to get in there, okay? So, I mean, that just shows you the demand that we'll have. As David alluded to, we'll have about 700 seats in there. Huge ceilings, stone fireplaces, outdoor terrace that will be unlike anything people have seen here in Colorado. The Coors family Western Terrace will be part of this, a much larger lounge named after Fred and Colleen Orr, longtime supporters of the National Western Stock Show, and a greatly expanded bar up there called Pete's. Now, does that sound fun?
Pete who?
That sounds fun to me. That's a place I'd want to go have myself a Coors. And the 4th floor itself, the entire floor has been named really for a stalwart family that has been here forever at the National Western and supporting us, the McNicholas family, who are near and dear to our hearts. And it's even made more meaningful this year because the family lost their patriarch at the end of 2020 with the passing of a man that made the food here better than any place in America, Kevin McNicholas. That man changed the National Western Stock Show with our food offering forever. And to have their name on that fourth floor is really going to be great. So lastly, there's still plenty of naming rights inside. The exterior of the building, obviously I talked about that, won't be sold for any donor's name. That belongs to all the members, but we do still have some individual opportunities inside the building, and this will be the most exciting building in Colorado, in my opinion, Pete.
I think one of the things that's been fun is that we've been working with David and his team to see if we can't find more naming rights, because we have folks that now that we're getting a little bit more formalized on things are saying, well, maybe I'd like to jump in and do something. So David, thank you for all the extra work in trying to figure out what we can do to accommodate people who might want to do a little bit more. We love contributions at any level.
That's right.
But if you want some recognition, you've provided a lot of spaces to do that.
We have, and the more we work together and look at the building, there's still opportunities. And one of the things that we are now starting to think about as we're getting into the details, where the heck is everybody going to sit when they come to the art gallery or they come to these receptions? And so we've got a new idea of these beautiful, beautiful benches. They're solid Douglas fir, about 18 by 18 inches on these Core 10 standards, and you can put your family name and brand it right into the wood. And we have a new offering at $10,000 for those, and we'll probably have 20 or 30 of those around the building. And having put those in the Colorado History Museum, you go in there and you see people sitting, and they just go right to the name of the donor is right there. And it's something you can touch and you can feel, and it's a great Western kind of thing, is to offer someone a place to sit. So that'll be a new thing that we're going to have.
Also make sure there's places to sit around the Armed Forces Memorial out
Absolutely.
in front, where they can sit and reflect and kind of
Yep.
enjoy the bronze sculpture that will be there.
Yes.
I think as you're talking about naming rights, and for those who don't want to quite spend that kind of money, on the club level, the top floor of the building will be where our bricks wall will be. So you can buy brick, and it'll also be where our branding wall will be. So if for those of you might have a brand that you'd like to have on display, we've got a great way to do that on the doors that enter into that be closed off for reception and then opened up for use of the club space, the dining facilities, and that, I think that's going to be it's going to be a feature that really brings some life to that floor.
Well, it'll be part of the warmth of the place. They'll all be on leather, and the wood doors are 4.5 inches thick, and we'll have this leather band that goes right at eye level, and you can put your brand right there. And I think all of these kinds of things add to the texture and the personality and the authenticity of the building. I mean, everything throughout the building is going to be tied to the National Western and the history of the National Western through the materials and the warmth and more than anything, the hospitality. We'll walk in the front door and there'll be a 22-foot fireplace that'll just say, "Come on in." And you can imagine coming out of a blizzard and getting out of your truck and dropping off the family and the kids and coming through the door and just gathering around the Doug and Nancy Jones family fireplace right there that will warm that whole entire 8,000 square foot lobby.
And we've got the Robinson family reception desk, which will be there as well. That'll be great. I just have to kind of laugh because when we first started talking about a branding wall, I thought, well, why don't we just have a branding party and everybody could bring their brands and we'll get them heated up, and I guess the fire marshals didn't like that idea too much, but we've had a lot of fun as we've designed this thing and brought it to life, and I know we're all anxious to get it built and have an opportunity to use it. It looks like it's going to be 2025 stock show. We'll have the building up and running.
Yeah, I think that's the forecast right now. And boy, I'll tell you, even though we're about to turn into 2021, I think it'll be here before you know it. And once we start going vertical and you start getting to actually see some of that, and we'll be taking people through tours, believe me, we'll tour the members as it's building and let them share the excitement of what we're all working on here for certain.
It's important to note that the first piece of vertical will be completed in 2021 with the Stockyards Event Center, and CSU's buildings are going vertical, so there's a lot of vertical going on.
Right, yeah, we'll obviously be celebrating the grand opening of the new Ron and Seal Williams yards this next year at the 2022 Stock Show, as well as the Buck and Janie Hutchison Stockyards Event Center. So those are two vertical buildings, but I'm with David as far as the epicenter of this entire campus. This legacy building is at the center of Main and Main, and it'll all start there and flow into the campus from there.
Come on in.
Absolutely.
One of a kind.
Any time
Paul,
of year.
one more thing I think is worthy of talking. You touched on it earlier, and that is, we have 16 days in January for Stock Show. Pretty much the whole month of December and January dedicated to getting Stock Show going. But these facilities will be ready to accommodate meetings, weddings, events year round. And I think having a home where people can start thinking about, boy, this is great. This would be great space for my meeting or my wedding or my event. It would be fantastic.
Well, as Denver grows, it's going to be nice to have an alternative to a room like the Sewell Ballroom that really is about the West and really has a different feeling of hospitality, has even better views, and it has a deck and balcony that's almost equal to the size of that, and to offer people different choices. And I just think that that's part of the story of what the future is about, of people gathering. And we'll have a place for a lot of hospitality and all scales, all the way from 20 to 700.
Right. I mean, you think about the square footage, David, you've given us such great flexibility with a 10,000 square foot space that can be cut up into different sizes on the second floor. And then the club, my gosh, we got about 20,000 square feet up there that can host just about any of the holiday party, weddings, I mean, just about anything, right? I mean, that'll be tremendous flexibility.
Just think of the energy during the Stock Show up there, all the time.
Well, let's get this pandemic behind us so that we can enjoy that space when it gets built. I'm sure certainly by 2025, when we open the building, everybody's going to be wanting to get together and to
Have a beer.
have some fun together.
Here's to the future.
Well, Paul, David, Doug, thanks so much for your insights on our new exciting world and national headquarters for the Western Stock Show Association, the Legacy Building.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.